see you in there, which is fine. Okay. Hey everybody, Jerome Maldonado. Welcome back. Real Talk on Real Estate. It's Thursday, and yesterday I was up in Phoenix. We had a ton of stuff going on up there. We got the Youngtown project going, where we're doing a bunch of renovations. Now, look, understand, ladies and gentlemen, today one of the big things that we're talking about. Is we're talking about the three factors that keep people from investing in real estate, buying land, building a house, redeveloping real estate. So if you're watching this and you've been wanting to develop real estate, one of the big things, you guys see Daniel in the backdrop right here? That's Daniel. We can wave to him. We've got some reflection issues happening, changing out some of our electrical, our lighting, and some of that stuff. Daniel, give me a backdrop on this TV here. Yeah, I hate the backdrop. You can see the reflection of everything here. Just put me on something on the backdrop. Let's not change what we've been doing. Let's just keep this stuff going exactly the way we've been doing it. Okay, there was a reason we were doing this, because you could see through that black thing, it looks like a mirror. You could see everything. It looks like shit. It's a distraction. Okay. So look, ladies and gentlemen, the three factors that stop people from investing in real estate and buying land, developing real estate, buying land, building a house, and real estate in general. Look, so number one is knowledge, hands down. And I'm not just going to feed you guys three different steps and tell you guys, I'm going to go through these. I'm going to explain to you guys how this works psychologically, emotionally, and in physical reality, so that you guys can do it. Okay, can we do something that's less bright?
I got you.
Okay. All right. We got all this shit coming down, and we're going to be doing this backdrop on this wall. Everybody's so damn busy. We've been having the electricians for like 2 months trying to get them down here to get all this stuff done, and we have them so busy on projects, and everybody's short-handed on labor right now that we haven't been able to get our own stuff done at my house and in my own offices, which is crazy. So we have ceiling fans, my wife and I, that are in for our gym that we were supposed to put in during COVID when we were really using our gym every single day. And now they're just sitting there in boxes. They've been there for months. We can't get my own electricians out to my own house to get it done. They always put me off because they know that they can on my own house. And now they're doing the same thing to us on our office because we have them so inundated with work. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll work through those little logistics. Anyways, it's going to look really cool, really cool once we finally get this done here over the next few weeks and we get these guys in here. Let's hard press Johnny to get down here, get that done so we can get this stuff resolved. We'll put that on our schedule. Right, Daniel?
Yes, sir.
All right. We got Daniel. Daniel deals with all the little logistics and me coming in, running in to get all the YouTube lives, content created, and everything done, which is great. But ladies and gentlemen, knowledge is one of the biggest things that most people, why they don't get started, because they sit back and go, okay, how do I buy a piece of land? How do I go out and build a house? Okay, so you sit back and we have a system, right? So I've been talking about the systems that we use. Now, I can't just unload 100% of all that knowledge in one 1-hour video. There's a lot to it. So we created a 12-week program that literally talks about the emotional roller coaster the first week, talks about all of the mindset stuff. And then we roll into content. We talk about how to structure LLCs, how to go in and set up a business structure, how to reduce your liability, how you go in and you actually buy the land, how you reverse engineer it. And one of the biggest things with buying land and building houses, one of the biggest things with buying land and building and developing real estate, or just buying a project, buying a piece of real estate, is having the information, right? And knowing that you can profit, because once you have the knowing knowledge of whatever it is that you're doing, your comfort level starts to sit at ease because you sit back and go, okay, I'm understanding, I'm getting this. And so one of the big things that most people don't know about buying land and building houses is how much to spend for the land. They sit back and go, Jerome, I can go in, buy land, build a house, but how much do I spend on that land to make that happen? And so one of the biggest things is being able to go in and reverse engineer it so that when you buy land and you start building a house, you know what your profitability is going to be. And I'll tell you that a lot of your profit comes from how you buy your land. And same exact thing with commercial real estate. So you guys always hear me talk about how can I get free land? And people go, okay, well, there's no such thing as free land. It's essentially, it's not free. You're paying for the asset, right? But you get free acreage in land. I love commercial property because of that purpose, because I can go in, buy a commercial property. And because the way the banks look at commercial property, it doesn't matter if one 20,000 square foot building sits on 10 acres or if it sits on 1 acre. The way the banks underwrite it is based on what's called an income model. And so whatever they're getting in income, in rent, they'll sit back and they'll underwrite it and say, okay, this property can afford to pay X amount in payments. The property's only worth this much. And so if nobody in the world can get financing on the property, unless someone's really, really hungry for it and they want to come in and pay cash, then it's only worth as much as the appraised value that the bank is going to lend on. And so if the bank's lending on an 80% loan to value or a 70% loan to value, it's only worth as much as the bank is willing to give you on a loan. And so when it goes in and gets appraised, if it doesn't have an income model that supports it, then it's not worth anything. So if that income model only supports so much, you buy the building with that income model, all the extra land comes with it. And so that's why I always love getting free land. So we're doing this project up in Phoenix right now. And one of the things that makes the project work is we're getting over 100 units on the apartment complex that we're building out. We're taking old office, we're renovating it, but it's the acreage in the back that we're able to position an additional 50 units on, 40 addition. We're going 52 and we're going 50, 54 and 48 additional units. We got 52 on the pre-existing and then 48 on the new build. And what's great is this project would not have been viable if we did not have enough land to build out the other 48 units, because it's going over 100 units and having that affordability per door to be able to do that. Now, when you're buying land, building houses, it's the exact same thing. So if you're able to go in and buy in an area where it's not pre-platted, meaning like it's an agricultural piece of land that you can subdivide into smaller sectors, you can always maximize your profits because your price per lot starts going down. The more lots you build out, the price goes down for the price you're paying per lot. So that makes your viability for the projects on the build end more viable. Now, with that being said, let's say you're going in and buying a single plat. You sit back and go, okay, Jerome, how much do I spend on that single plat? Well, just roughly speaking, okay, now these are very general numbers because there's factors involved, like as far as utility costs, impact fees, architecture fees, resale values, so forth and so on. But in spite of that stuff, this is just a good rule of thumb. This way, when you guys are looking at land, you guys can sit back and say, okay, I know that Jerome gave us just a very general, broad basis of what to spend for land for each acquisition based on what the sales price of the house is, but it's just a good rule of thumb to use. So here's how it goes, okay? So let's say, for example, the median home now is between $350,000 and $400,000. So my suggestion, you guys, is if you're doing this, unless you're building small townhomes, micro homes, or something like that, stay in an acquisition price in excess of $400,000 or really close to that. Because at $400,000, you can make a reasonable profit if you buy your land right. Now, if you're building a house that you're going to sell someplace around $380,000 and $450,000 is going to be the sales price of the actual home, you don't want to pay any more than $60,000 for that lot. Because by the time you assume electrical costs to tap in, your water meters to get on the property to be able to service the water, the sewer or septic tank, putting a well in, paying your impact fees, and running gas to the property or propane or whatever it is. And then by the time you have your entire build, you want to make sure that you're profitable. And so on a $400,000 house that I would build, I would want to make close to about $60,000 to $80,000 minimum. So if I want to make $60,000 to $80,000, you want to be careful how you buy your land, because if you go in and spend $100,000, you can essentially land up making $40,000, $50,000 on the house as opposed to $60,000 to $80,000. Your profitability comes on how you buy your land. And so you want to develop that land with that asset at the right acquisition price. And so I always tell people, stay right around and about $60,000 for a house that's selling for about $400,000 to $450,000. If you're going in and you're buying a lot, if you're buying a lot that's going to service a house and an area where houses are selling between higher 400s, like 475, all the way up to about $550,000, you want to be someplace less than $110,000. If you can pick up a lot for like $80,000 to about $100,000, you're the perfect spot, but no more than $110,000, depending on your utilities. Now, understand there's areas that are more developed. Okay, so you go into an area that's more developed where there's already infrastructure, there's roads, there's curbs, there's gutters, there's schools, there's drainage plans. Everything's already built out, and it's been like that for 30 years. They're not charging impact fees anymore in older municipalities because the infrastructure is already there, and the impact fees pay for that infrastructure. And so if your impact fees are low, you can afford to pay a slightly more for the land and still have the same profitability. So it's a factor that you want to consider. Now, if you go out and you buy land in an area where houses are selling for higher $500,000 ranges all the way to $650,000. So let's say like $575,000 to $650,000, maybe about $130,000 to $150,000 max sales price. But I would even max that somewhere closer to about $130,000 to be able to go out and make at least $100,000 profit on your house. Because once you get into the $600,000 mark, there's no reason that if you manage that project right, and if you go in, you buy your land right, there's no reason you can't make six figures on a house that's being sold for between $575,000 and $650,000. Now, that's subject to you being able to pay about $130,000 or less for that lot. Now, if you're going $750,000 to $1 million, I would stay within a $200,000 purchase price for that lot. Maybe if you encroach to like $210,000, you're okay. Now, if you're getting over $1 million for the house, 1.1 all the way to $2 million, you can afford to go up to maybe about $300,000 for the purchase price of that land. And so however you scale that out and you divide it out, your land cost is going to afford you the profitability that you need to make it worth your time. Because everything I evaluate it based on what my time is worth. Okay. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, if you like that information, if that's helpful to you, just do me a favor. Pound the thumbs up button down below so we know that that the information we're giving out is, one, helpful, and two, you like it. And then pound that bell and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Number two, the second reason people will never get started in real estate is they're scared. You know what I found? We do our strategy calls with an inner circle, and then I also speak on stage nationwide now. And so I get a lot of people, big outreach, that come to me, and then they want to meet, they want to talk, they want to try to explore options to be able to go out and invest in real estate and invest in multifamily, buy land, develop it, build houses, so forth and so on. And they want to understand how we do that. And so we give them that information, the same type of information we're giving you here. We feed it to them in small quantities, you know. So we have our elite real estate program on how to develop and redevelop real estate. And in that, we have full modules that talk about how to buy land and build houses. And there's over 100 modules in that. It's a 12-week program. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's a 12-week program, well over 100 modules. Each module ranges on average from about 20 to 30 minutes per module. And it's jam-packed with information. So once you have the knowledge, they sit back and go, okay, in those modules, without a shadow of a doubt, there's all the information that you really need to go out and make and become successful, developing real estate, or redeveloping real estate, managing your projects correctly, buying land and building houses. It's all in there. We have all of that. So the other reason, if you have all the information, and then at the end, we still have people that won't buy land and build houses. We still have people that are in there that won't go in and buy a piece of real estate because they're scared. And that's the second thing, fear. Fear is the second reason that most people will never get started. And I got it because years ago, I would go through all this training, and I would sit back and I'd help them, and I'd lead them by the hand and say, okay, let's buy a lot. And let's get it going. We've done the homework. I've led you through the process. You have all the information. And then I lead them there and I go, okay, put an offer. And they go silent and they get scared. And I sit back and I scratch my head and I say, okay, why, if they have all the information in the world, are they afraid to move forward? And the reason is because they're afraid of failing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there's a business model, let's say, for example, you go into algebra. You ever remember being in high school or even middle school or college, and you're going in for algebra, right? You know the next year is algebra. And you sit back and you're scared to death. And for some of you guys, the answer is still going to be no to this question. But once you open the book, they don't just go in and teach you algebra. It goes from simple arithmetic, adding, subtracting, to fractions. And from fractions, it goes into geometry. And then geometry goes into algebra. And what they're doing is they're leading you in. They do exponents, and you solve for y. I mean, you solve for y, or you solve for x, or you solve for a, or you solve for b. But they don't just dump it all on you. And then once they go through the process, at the beginning of the following year, they go and review what you learned the year prior, and then they lead you there. And then when you sit back, and if you have the tutoring, you have the right support from your teachers and your peers, it really wasn't as hard as you thought it was, unless you really weren't taught right, or you were checked out, or math just wasn't your thing. But point being is that you were led to success in a slow, methodical fashion. So what we intend to do is we say, okay, let's teach you that in that fashion, where we lead you in a methodical fashion so that you're not scared. But then what happens is people will open up their textbook again, and then they get to the next level of algebra, and they're scared again. And that's exactly like this. So the same fears you went through through school is the same reason people don't invest in real estate, because they're scared. They want to be led all the way through this process. And so we sit back, and I'd have people that would graduate from our programs, and they still went buy real estate. And I'd sit back and go, hey, Susie, hey, Mike, hey, Bill, hey, whatever your name is, what is the deal? Like, we have the perfect lot, the perfect business plan. And I know that it's right because I've done it before. But they don't know that it's right because they're scared to death, and they're sitting back going, okay, I have all the information, but what if it doesn't work? What if it does? And that's the biggest thing, is what if it does? And it will. If you get led the right way, and you're building for the worst case scenario, you'll always be able to do it. But most people get too scared to pull the trigger and go. And so one of the biggest things is being able to lead people there, and you being able to get there psychologically, where you say, okay, I have the information. If I follow it just like a textbook, and I unfold it just like a textbook, and I follow the exact steps and systems, I can be successful. And the reason I know that is because those exact steps. I sit down, and when I write this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, we sit down and I think about, okay, what did I go through? When I first started doing this, what did I go through? And realistically, like, what were my biggest fears? What were my biggest concerns? Where did I lose money initially? Like, where were the mistakes that I made? And then where did I fix those mistakes? And where did I go in and start make everything profitable? And then I sit down, and I go back and I write this stuff out, and I say, okay, let's teach them that. And then let's give people that information so that they can go out and also be successful going out. So if they're scared, they have a step-by-step system on how to go through it. Now, once you go through it and you start moving through things, the fear kind of dissipates and goes away. But one of the biggest things is being able to go, okay, how do I get through that? And so that's why the whole first week of everything that we do goes through the mindset, because until you believe that you can do it, you never will. Okay. But the biggest thing is being able to get people past that fear to do it, because they sit back and they go, okay, what if I can't build this house? Like, what if I can't get the contractors, or what if I can't get the subcontractors, or what if I can't get it done for this price? And that's why we go through a full reverse engineering process where you don't have to worry about that stuff. You go out, you seek out and shop your subcontractors in advance. And even if it takes you an extra 6 months to do the homework, is it worth taking an extra 6 months to do the homework, find the right people, the right team, to know that you have a profitability of success, than going in and rushing into a program, going in and rushing into a process that you may land up losing and land up wasting money, time, and even losing the opportunity to make a profit on a project. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, people will buy rental homes all day long. Why? I don't know. It's never been my thing. And I love rental homes, and I have some of the most incredible team members, and they created a system where they can go out and they're buying single family homes in the thousands, where it's like they're collecting them in units like multifamily. And the difference is they're doing it in mass volume. But the people that are doing 1 home, 2 homes, 3 homes, that's great, but you're working hard for a small amount of money. If you take that exact same amount of effort and you apply it to something more viable, one, you're going to have more profitability and less headaches. And so if you can go in and buy land and build a house and have more profitability, less headaches, wouldn't that be more interesting to you than the contrary, where you go in, you buy to fix up, and you have unexpected circumstances where you're renovating the house and your profitability is substantially smaller? It takes you the exact same amount of time, if not longer, than just going out and blading and grading dirt and just building a brand new house. And so for me, it always made more sense. I would sit back and I'd say, you know what? Fix and flips, they suck. I hate fix and flips. I still, to this day, I don't get it. I don't get the fix and flip game. And in the residential sector. Now, in the commercial sector, I get it, because I can go in and find financially distressed assets that have good bones, And I'll literally go in, because we get them for so inexpensive, and just gut them. And then we'll rewire, we'll replumb, we'll do ADA bathrooms, we'll gut them down to the skin, and then we let the tenants come in and do what's called tenant improvements at their expense to get them in there. And then we rent them at a reasonable rate, and they cash flow. And my out-of-pocket outlay is substantially less, and I have way more profitability and way less headaches, because people are doing business out of there and they stay forever. They don't do a 6-month, 1-year residential lease. They stay forever. They stay for a long time if you have the right property, the right building, and a real simple, clean build out for them. And then we'll sell them once we stabilize them, or we'll keep them. Either way. So the fix and flip model for commercial real estate, I understand better than the residential. But why in the hell so many people are doing fix and flips is beyond my understanding. And the only thing I can figure out is because, one, they lack the knowledge to build a house from dirt to full conceptual finish out, and they're scared because they don't have that information. So if we give you that information and we tell you, look, this is what you buy your lands for, we give you a spreadsheet with all your expenses, and you sit back and you reverse engineer all your expenses, and then you go out and you shop your subcontractors to make sure that it still supports your expense sheet and that you can really get that price for install on everything that you're doing. And then you just go and you implement. You go in, you buy the land at the right price, you reverse engineer it on paper, on a spreadsheet that we put together, on an Excel spreadsheet. It adds up your costs, all of your costs, everything. And then it subtracts out your profitability based on comps on everything else that's selling in that area for that price. And the cool thing is, if you really build good with quality the way we teach, and you just get a quality product, you can even up your price by a small margin, increasing your profitability. And so reverse engineering it, and then you know exactly what your variables are. You know that you're going to have you're going to have dirt work and civil engineering for grading and drainage for the water. You know that you're going to have a concrete foundation. You know that you're going to have plumbing, electrical, and heating and cooling. You know that you're going to have a foundation that needs to get poured and framing that needs to go up. You know you need sheetrock, paint, appliances, tile, flooring, and you're going to need a little bit of landscaping, maybe so a little bit of irrigation. And you need to connect to the sewer, your power, and all of that stuff. Those are variables that are constant. They're consistent on every single project, 100% of them. So you don't have to worry about opening up a wall and finding mold and then having to deal with a $25,000, $30,000 restoration that takes all your profit. Or you don't have to worry about going in and trying to retrofit heating and cooling. Then you find out you have to spend $30,000 on a heating and cooling system. Or you don't have to worry about going back in and trying to repair a roof, finding out that all your parapets are damaged and you have to spend another $25,000, $30,000 re-roofing the property, taking all of your profitability. So my whole thing is, why not reduce the variables on like fix and flips and then go in and do this, where a fix and flip on average nationwide, you make about $30,000 per fix and flip, and they take 4, 5, 6 months full turnkey from the time you buy it, start construction, renovate, stabilize, and done. It takes half a year to sell it and be out. Buying land, building a house takes the exact same amount of time, less variables, and why don't you double, maybe even triple your profitability? So instead of making $30,000, you can go out and make $60,000 to $100,000 doing the exact same thing with less variables, less headaches. To me, that makes more sense. So here's the challenge, is getting over the fear of doing it and having the information, because until you pull the trigger on your first one, you'll never know. You'll never know. The hardest is your first. The hardest is always going to be the first one that you ever do. But once you have success with one, and even if you make a catastrophic error where it costs you $30,000 for something, and if you're making $60,000 on your very first one, you made $30,000 and you learned. Where else in America can you go out while you're learning, make a catastrophic error and still be profitable, even if it's $1,000? Where in the world can you make a catastrophic error and still make a profit? So look, I didn't know building when I got started. In fact, I knew nothing about it. I was in pharmacy school, getting started, opening up construction, pouring concrete. I didn't even know it. I knew how to sell. I was a network marketing sales guy while I was in college, selling water filters in a day and age when there wasn't even bottled water on the shelf. And we used to tell people, you're going to spend more for bottled water than you do for gasoline. And people used to laugh at us and tell us we were crazy. So now go down to the local store and buy a bottle of Fiji. It's a 1-liter bottle. How much do you pay? $2.69. How much is a gallon of regular gas, of unleaded gasoline, the bottom level? $2.69. You need 3 of those bottles to make a gallon, ladies and gentlemen. You're paying almost $9 a gallon for gasoline right now. And if you're in California, New York, Florida, you're paying over $10 for a gallon of water. And now we're going out and it's one of the biggest industries in the world. I'm sitting back. I didn't know concrete. I'm sitting back telling you guys the exact same thing. There's so much more money in this that if you just apply simple steps, the fear factor after you do your first one is so profitable. And the thing about being scared is that even if you make a mistake, you have a larger cushion and margin for error. So who cares if you end up making a mistake and you make less money? You still made money and you learned. I promise you that on the second build, you won't make the same stupid mistake twice, unless you're really stupid. And there are people that are really that stupid out there. And if that's you, I'm sorry. I didn't make you. God did. And God must have given you another talent greater than that, because he made I feel like he made everybody special. So my whole thing is like, look, if you make a stupid mistake, fix the damn mistake and then move forward on your second. So if you make $30,000 being stupid on your first, which you may, that's okay. I've made stupid ass mistakes before. It's okay. The next one that you build, go out and make $80,000. Go out and make $100,000. And then once you do that, revolve that capital a couple times and build 2 at the same time. You could build 2 houses the exact same time, same amount of effort, same amount of headache, maybe a few more extra phone calls a week between the 2 houses, and that's it. And then you go in and you double your profit. Imagine if you just did 2 of them at the same time and you mastered this, and after just 1 year, you build 1 house that took you all year. And let's say you screw things up, made $30,000. A year later, you go in, you do 2, and you just do 1 in 6 months, then a second one, the second 6 months. And let's say that on the second and third one, you made $80,000, $160,000. Now the next year you say, okay, year number 3, it's only been 2 years now, but you're in the beginning of year number 3, and you say, I'm going to do 2 of these at the same time on the first 6 months, and then 2 on the second 6 months, and I'm going to build 4 this year. And if you're able to get this thing dialed in, you make $80,000 to $100,000. How would it feel to increase your income, working your full-time job, make an extra $400,000 a year in just the next 2 years, rolling into your 3rd year doing this? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's attractive to you, give us a thumbs up and pound and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll tell you how. Because number 3 is the 3rd reason that most people will never get started doing this, and that's money. And some people are sitting back going, okay, Jerome, I have the information, I got the knowledge, I'll overcome my fears, I'll find a way, but the money, how do I get this going? How do I do the money thing? How do I get the money to set this up? Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, there's multiple ways to get money, and it should never be an issue. Now, do you need credit? Yes. If you have bad credit, you need to go out and you need to try to earn money to be able to buy things, fix your credit. And once you fix your credit, then you can go out and you can do this a lot easier. Otherwise, you can go out and do owner finance deals, and you're going to have to probably partner with somebody that's going to co-sign for you to go out and do a construction loan. And so you may have to go in, if you have really bad credit, and work with somebody and give up 50% of your profit initially to get this started. But is it worth it? Because once you're underwritten on one loan and you're successful, if you go to the same banker, the chances of them giving you a second is pretty good. And so you're able to go out and do it. So some people get really greedy. They go, no, I want to make the whole profit. I'm doing all the work. The person only put their name on the loan. They don't deserve to get 50%. Well, you can't get started unless you get somebody to help you. And so if you have a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, a friend, a cousin, brother, sister, whoever it is that'll co-sign for you, then do it. Or go out and get a hard money lender. Get somebody that'll give you hard money at a more expensive price, 8%, 10%. Give them part of the profitability. You go out, kick ass on it. And then even if you pay them, it takes you a year to do the whole thing. And they give you only pay on the loans, the amount that you actually have utilized on a construction loan. Now, if you're getting a hard money loan, they give you all the money at once from the time that they give you the entire money, even if it's sitting in a bank account, is when you start paying interest. So I always tell people, don't get a hard money loan from a hard money lender until you're ready to break ground on dirt. Expense the plans, the designs, find the lot, see if you can do an owner finance deal on the lot. That's one of the biggest things. And you have to build a business model, okay? So here's the thing about money. Is you have to have a business model that you stand behind when you first get started. And the way this really works is by exercising your business model from the get-go, full forced. So most people get disappointed after what they consider their first failure, okay? And this is how funny people are, is that this is what they call their first failure. This is what makes most people stop, is that they go in, they look for a piece of land. And the first time they call, they say, I found some land. They get really excited. They're like, oh my God, this land is perfect, right? It's the perfect piece of land. If I could do it, it's the right price. It's in the right place. The house they're selling for the right thing. I can make $80,000. I can make $100,000. I can make $150,000 on those lots. I say, okay, perfect. Can you get owner financing on those? No, I can't. They said no. And then they get disappointed. And they sit back and go, oh, I can't get owner financing. And I look around and I go, okay, so what's the problem? And they go, I can't get owner financing on it. Okay, so what's the problem? And they go, I can't buy the lots. I can't do it. This is just so much work. I'm going to quit. And I sit back and go, hey, stupid. Look around. Like there's land everywhere. There's so much land all over. Why would you hold yourself to one lot or two lots and then stop looking? There's people that are selling land all over the place. There's people that's their business model. They want you to come in and buy so they can generate capital on the interest off the land that they're selling to you, or off of the real estate, or off the house. And so if it's your business model to find somebody that's going to sell on a real estate contract on an owner finance deal where they go out and they finance it for you, what you do is you go back and you might get 20, 30 no's. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just in Phoenix. I was sitting down with Kyle Mitchell. We went to this awesome restaurant called The Element over in the Sanctuary at the top of Camelback Mountain. One of my favorite restaurants over there. Been going there for years. One of my favorite restaurants. And so we sit down and it's great. I love having dinner with friends and colleagues, especially intelligent people. So we're sitting on the top over at The Element and we're having a glass of wine, eating some foie gras and just a great kick-ass dinner, right? And so we're sitting back and we're talking and we're telling stories about how we got started doing this. And I told him, I said, I was running a full-time concrete company. We were making $7 million a year. And I said, I wanted to get into developing land. And one of the things I wanted to do it where I was at, but I also wanted to travel. And one of the biggest things when I moved back to Albuquerque was I told my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, I told her, look, my biggest thing is I want to be able to travel minimum once a month. If I can't travel once a month, I'm not going to live in Albuquerque because there's a big world out there. Okay. And so follow me here because this has to do with what we're talking about. So follow me here. So look, I sat down and I told Kyle, I said, I wanted to go to Vegas just so we could go party and have a good time every now and then. We were young. We were in our late 20s. I was making a shitload of money. I was in my late 20s and I had been blessed. We were doing well. And I sat back and I said, I went to Vegas. And I said, what I did is Toll Brothers, Opal Jenkins Homes, which was bought out by Kaufman and Broad, which is KB Homes today. So I'm dating myself back into the early 2000s. They were out there. All these companies were building, and they were devouring Henderson and some of the rural areas out there at the time. And so I sat back and said, okay, shit, I was doing this back in Albuquerque, and I was doing it over in a town called Rio Rancho where Intel is. It's similar to Chandler down in Phoenix, and similar to Portland, Oregon, where Intel is. And so there's this massive growth going on. And so I would go out there and I would fly in on a Wednesday night. And on Thursday morning, I go out there and I just start driving around inside Henderson. And I go talk to people and I would say, hey, look, how do you guys like what's happening right here? And they would, all of them hated it. And so I was literally going door to door to door, talking to people. And then I would tell them at the end and say, hey, here's my card. If you guys ever decide that you guys want to sell, let me know. And then I would build terms around a business plan. And then I would ask them for owner financing. I couldn't afford to go in and just buy all of their land up and do all the infrastructure and development right off the bat myself. What I did have the ability to do is negotiate options to buy it and start working on a business plan with them financing it on my behalf. And so if you're going out on a smaller scale and you ask people and your business plan is to buy it with owner financing, then that's what you do. And you don't stop until you get there. And Kyle sat back and goes, Jerome, you're making $7 million a year. And you were, actually we were grossing. That wasn't what we were netting. We were making that gross a year. And he goes, and you were out knocking on doors? And I said, yes, I was netting 7 figures a year, not 7 million, but we were netting 7 figures a year, making millions of dollars every single year. And he goes, and you were knocking on doors? I said, yes. And he goes, and people think that everything that we do is an accident. And I said, it's not an accident. It's because we've put in the time, we've worked hard, and we had a business plan that worked and we executed. And that's the biggest thing. But I never made money an issue. And even though we were doing well financially at that time, I started with zero. And I'm not talking a loan from my mom and dad, because my mom and dad would have never given me a loan, not even $10 to start a business. So I had to figure out a way to get creative to do this. And so what I did is I used other people's money. I allowed other people to be a bank for me in times that I couldn't have a normal bank support me. Why? Because when I was in direct sales and network marketing, I drove myself up to 6 figures in debt and ran my credit score down to a 460. And there wasn't a bank in the country that would give a loan to me. I literally had to go back to my credit union that I had a car payment with when I was 16 years old to beg them to give me a loan for a truck payment that I had to start rebuilding my credit. Then I had to hire attorneys once I started making some money to clean up my credit. And then I was able to go out and put like $100,000 down on my first house to be able to buy my first home when I was building my own personal home. Now that wasn't an investment loan. And I didn't know then what I know now on how to go out and find money and how to utilize other people's money and how to utilize other people's land and real estate for them to finance it on my behalf. I didn't know anything about that. And so the benefit that you have over me is that I'm giving that information to you guys for free right here. And so what I'm telling you guys is that if you guys go out there and you get the information and you go out there and you can overcome your fear by going out there and applying some of this stuff the exact same way I was talking about, and you build your first one, you stomach it, you stomach the butterflies through your first one, and you even make bad mistakes and you still profit because there's enough of a margin that you can do that. And then you go out and you're able to find a business plan that works. And money doesn't become an issue because you owner finance land. Then you go in, you do all your architectural work, you do all of your design work, and then you go in and you get a construction loan from a normal institution. Or if you have bad credit, you go get a bridge loan, or you go and get a hard money lender to help you out and lend you money at a higher interest rate. And then you utilize them to be able to go out and build a house. Now, here's what's cool. Look, if you're building out a $500,000 house, okay? Now, the land is going to cost you, let's say, $85,000, okay, $85K. So now there's $415,000 still out there. This is the $85,000 is owner finance. Maybe you put $10,000 down to buy the land, so you have $75,000 owner finance and $10,000 out of pocket. Okay, that you have. You can go get a cash advance on your credit card. You can borrow that from mom and dad. You can go in and get an investor to come in with you and give them 12%, 15%. You probably have to give them a little bit more percentage because it's your first deal. You don't have a track record. And so maybe you can give them a little bit more percentage of the deal to be able to be able to buy the land or get the down payment money. But you're giving them a little bit of cash incentive on a $15,000 loan, $10,000 loan that you get from to be able to buy that land, put that down payment down. Now, you have $415,000. You're not getting a loan amount for a construction loan for that much. Because let's say, for example, you have $100,000, let's say let's call it $80,000 in profitability. So now you subtract $80,000 from that. And that number now is, what is that? $335,000. Okay. Now you have commissions that you're going to pay your realtors out of that $335,000. So you have to remember those expenses don't come at a cost until you sell the property. So those are expenses that you don't even have at this point in time. So let's say, for example, building a $500,000 home. Let's say it's 2,100 square feet. Okay. Got your land already acquired. You've already done everything that you need to do. Now you subtract that $80,000 in profit from the $415,000 because that's the price you have after the land is X'd out of there. Okay. Now your profit, you don't have to pay interest on that. You don't need money to be loaned to you on your profit. So you X out that $80,000 on the front end because we're talking about what money you need on the front end. Okay. Now you're going to have to pay commissions on $500,000. Typically it's 6%, right? So that's $30,000 that you're going to have to spend in commissions. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You don't have to pay that commission till you sell the house. So now you could take $335,000 and subtract $30K in your commission money. Okay, so now you have $305,000. Now you have closing costs. You're going to sell this house and you have some excise tax and some other stuff. Let's say that you have another $15,000 in closing costs and expenses before you to be able to build that house. Now you take $305,000 and you subtract $15,000. That's $290,000. Okay. So you have $15,000 in expenses. Now, to close the property, pay excise tax and stuff. Now, that's the number. that you need a loan on, $290,000. Okay. This is how I do 2 houses at once. I go in, I get an appraisal. I say, I'm going to be a homeowner builder. I'm going to be the homeowner and I'm going to build my own house. I want a construction loan on it. And I'm going to go in and the house is $500,000. Well, I got both. If you get 2 lots, you got them both tied up. Owner financing, you only have maybe $20,000 with the down payment money for 2 lots. Now, you go out and you get a $500,000 loan, okay? Because the houses are going to be worth $500,000. So they tell you, okay, you own the land, that's your down payment, and you got a $500,000 loan. And so now you do 290. It's going to cost you to build 2 of each home. So now that's going to be how much money? $580,000. So you're $80,000 short, okay, to build 2 of them. Where do you get that $80,000 from? Now you go in and you get a hard money lender. You get a friend, a family, a mom, a dad to lend you $80,000. And on one construction loan, you can build 2 houses. Okay. Now you got to be careful because you cannot go out and elude that money into other projects. You need to make sure that you build the loan that you got the home on first. That's your number one. That's the one you build. Okay. But you're going to get paid last. Okay. We're not going to get greedy. We're not going to take money out and go buy a Mercedes Benz saying, I'm going to make 80 grand. I'm going to go buy me a brand new car. I want a brand new BMW and I'm going to go put a down payment on my own new home. And I want a little beach house someplace, a little beach condo someplace in the panhandle of Florida. Okay. You're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to reinvest in you. You're going to go back out and you're not making money an issue, right? You're still driving your Honda Accord, your Honda Civic, your Toyota Corolla, your Toyota Camry. You're still driving your little Nissan pickup truck. That was me, my little $4,000 black Nissan pickup truck. And I drove that thing into the ground. I drove that thing across the United States. I paid $4,000 for it. My other vehicle got repoed by Repo Man when I was a kid. And then I bought a little Nissan truck and I made millions of dollars with that little Nissan truck, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And until I needed a better vehicle to support my construction company, I drove that thing into the ground. And so this is what you guys are going to do. You guys already have a job. You guys have a lifestyle. You guys continue that. But you go in and instead of taking that capital to go out and spend on boats, vacations, and stuff like that, you start your business. You go out, you get one construction loan, you build 2 houses. You get $80,000, you can build 2 of them. You're only $80,000 short. Or you build both of them at the same time till you get stuck on the one at 80. You finish out the first one because that's the one you're committed to on your loan. You sell that sucker. Then once you sell it, the profitability goes to finishing out that house. So instead of waiting another full year, maybe you're only a month or 2 away from finishing the second house, and then you just finish it, and then you move on and you do it again. And now you have the profitability of 2 houses. And now the next time you do the exact same business model where you go out and you get one construction loan, you build 2 houses on the bank's money, and you have double the profitability with one loan. But always remember, you take care of the bank first. The bank's taking care of you. You take care of your financial institution first. Because if you don't, not only will they not take care of you, but they may put you in prison. Okay. So make sure that you're always taking care of the bank first. The loan that they give you to build that house, the first one you build. Okay. Now, the real amount of money you need is $290,000. So if you find an investor, you can raise capital. I have buddies that go out there, they buy little fourplexes. They don't even use the bank. They'll raise $50,000 from on a $400,000 deal from 8 people and give them back 10%, 15% on their project, and they just blast through it really fast to be able to come up with that $290,000. So if you have bad credit, that's an option as well. But people have to know you, trust you, and like you to be able to lend you their money. If they don't know you, like you, and trust you, they're not going to lend you that money to be able to get you started. So you have to have 1, the knowledge, and 2, you can't be scared because people can sense it. People can sense if another dog can sense if a dog's in heat from miles away. So don't be a dog in heat looking for money, trying to beg people for cash and capital. Go out there and be fearless where you know you have the information, the knowledge. Go out and grab the bull by the horns and take advantage of the opportunity you have, even if you make a mistake on your first deal. And then if you don't make money an issue, it won't become an issue. But you have to exercise some of what we're talking about here.
A few questions.
Yeah? Okay. Perfect. Shoot some questions because we just got through the three factors that limit people's ability and hold people back from investing in real estate.
Tams asks, do you think non-conforming lots are worth it?
Non-conforming
lots are worth
lots?
it.
What do you mean by non-conforming? Like non-conforming with what? like for residential, non-conforming, because there's a lot of different non-conforming residential lots, non-conforming commercial lots. You got to make sure you have zoning. And when you say non-conforming lots, are they lots that are altered?
We'll see if she replies back.
What's that?
We'll see if she replies right now.
Okay.
Second question, Benny, you get construction loan to buy raw land and build a new house?
Yeah, I'll do a construction loans. And the best way, most of you guys that are watching are not contractors, right? You're not a general contractor. Like I'm a general contractor. So the way I do things is slightly different. Most of you guys are not general contractors. So what you do is you go and you build a house as if you're going to live in it. You get it, and you go in and you get a owner's builder's permit. So you, as a homeowner, you go out and you pull the permit. Okay, and that's why you can do this by putting the property in a trust, so it's not in your own name, because in a trust, you can transfer it to an LLC. And so what's great is you can complete the whole build, you can have it in your trust, you can get a loan on your trust as if it was you, because a lot of people, homeowners that do it in a trust, they're actually building it for themselves. So you can get the loan under your trust and still limit your liability, you're still protected from bankruptcy, and then you go out and you get the loan in a trust, you buy the land in the trust, build a home under the trust, as a home builder, as a homeowner's home building permit. And then, so you don't have to be a general contractor. And then you can buy a home warranty package, like a 210 warranty. You can buy one for a few $1,000s on the internet. And so if you don't even have the ability to warranty the build, you can buy them like a 210 warranty. And there's contractors warranty packages that you can buy, and then they get honored by a third party company. Okay. Now, most of your subcontractors are going to warranty the property for you anyhow. Okay. So one of the big things is you'll already have some warranty stuff on there. But the answer, Benny, to your question is yes, you can definitely go get a construction loan on it and then do it through a trust. And then when you're done building and everything's done and finished, if you still haven't sold the house, put it into an LLC to limit your liability. Go ahead. Next question, Daniel.
Going back to the conforming, so Tam's replied, yes, residential lots that are small and are non-conforming with the zoning requirements that's in that town, I would need to buy a bulk variance to build a home.
Yeah, so the way I deal with that, with like non-conforming lots, because that's what scared me. And I thought that's what you were talking about when you say non-conforming with residential. That's harder to do. It takes more time. If you're just getting started, that's a bigger undertaking. So for a novice in here, you can do it. I did it. But I wouldn't encourage it as a business model for the first build. I would encourage you to find a lot that's already zoned correctly, so you don't have to deal with the bureaucracy of the municipality and all the zone changing and everything, because they won't give you the zone change unless you have a good business plan anyways. And so if you yourself are struggling with a business plan, why would they give you zoning? So unless you have a team of people that know what they're doing, you got to be careful with non-conforming real estate, non-conforming lots, because there's a chance that if you buy it, you may not be able to finish off the project if you don't get zoning. So you can do it and buy it under an option agreement where you have an option to buy it with a first right of refusal, and then you can go in and exercise that first right of refusal. And if you have to buy the lot once you've done some due diligence, but then ultimately long-term, you land up closing on the land once you know it's conforming. And once you know that the land is going to be viable the way you're buying it and with the zone changes, and then you close on it, get the zone change, and you move forward. But it's a process. That takes more time. It adds to the liability. Go ahead.
Cash cow, how do I calculate the cost of putting streets in a 13-acre parcel?
You got to get estimates. You got to get the biggest thing when you first get land, you got to get land cheap. Okay. The biggest thing for me is I want to get dirt cheap, especially if it's undeveloped. You go get farmland from a farmer. You can buy 500 acres for under $1 million, some rural areas. Now, if it's an area that's growing, you're not going to get it for quite that cheap, but you want to get land cheap. And here's how you do it. You go in and you get a civil engineer to start doing what's called hydrology. They do your grading and drainage plan, and it has to comply with the MAFCA. The state that you live in has a master plan for grading and drainage. And so when you exercise that master plan for grading and drainage, what you land up doing is you can go back into contractors with grading and drainage with earth moving companies, and then they price out what it costs to be able to get the road and infrastructure put in, and then you have the contractors, you bid it out to contractors. And so there's some initial cost involved in that. So even if I'm buying on an option, I'm always willing to put up the capital at first for infrastructure development. Those are the costs right there that I'm always talking about. But I'm willing to go in and pay $30,000 to an engineer to do the civil engineering and go get estimates and make sure that I can get is the quantity of lots that I need to make the project viable, one, on the subdivide, and two, I'm willing to put in the money for the civil engineering to make sure that we have the affordability for the project to be profitable instead of spending $1 million on land plus another $250,000 on infrastructure. And then you sit back and you go, oh my God, I'm $1.3 million, $1.25 million in this project, and it sucks. It's not viable. Now I need to sell the land. And now that's where you lose because people know you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Your business model didn't work. So you want to make sure that you always go in and assess costs first. Go ahead, Daniel.
Jose, he's trying to pull the trigger on creating a small residential subdivision with raw 10 acres that's considered a ETJ. There's no city sewage line connected to, so each lot, do they need a septic tank or just have one large septic tank?
Check with your state engineering department. No, you're more than likely you need individual septic tanks, more than likely. You got to check with the state engineering department and make sure that it's approved. So typically in most rural areas in the county outside of city limits is where they still allow septic tanks. So within city limits, a lot of times they don't allow septic tanks anymore. So one, you want to check, make sure that it's feasible to put the septic tanks. And then two, typically the state engineering department, you need to have a minimum of a gross acreage of 1/2 acre. And so if you have a gross acreage of 1/2 acre, you can do a septic tank. Now, if you go in and you have an acre or more, typically you can do a septic tank, but you need to check with the state engineers department and you need to get a permit and ask them if it qualifies, and the size of the tank and everything's going to depend on the quantity of bedrooms that you have in that dwelling. So that's stuff that you need to talk to the state engineering department about and ask them what's feasible in that area. And it's part of your due diligence. So typically what I tell people is exercise a minimum of a 60-day due diligence period. If you do at least a 60-day due diligence period on land, that gives you time to do that type of stuff. Okay? Go ahead. What next question?
That's it.
Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good questions to all of you guys who are asking questions. And ladies and gentlemen, good job. Look, if you like this information, if you find any of it valuable, even just a little piece of it, pound that thumbs up button. There's 11 of you guys on here. There should be 11 thumbs ups on there because I just gave you guys gold. The only way that it's not gold is either one, you're not paying attention, or two, you're daydreaming. You're daydreaming, but the information I'm giving you guys is priceless. Pound that thumbs up button, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content just like this. Ladies and gentlemen, go out there and make it a great day. And don't forget, compound your success.
Ignore drives me crazy.